Welcome to the 3Gs, the podcast where we dive into the world of fitness from three unique angles on three generations as we bridge the generation gap, explore diverse perspectives, and unravel the secrets of staying fit.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 3Gs Fitness Podcast. My name is Cisco, the Millennial.
My name's Michael, the Big Baby Boomer.
And I'm Kyle, the Young Generation.
Thank you for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. Now, on an episode earlier that we recorded weeks ago, Mike dropped a nice little nugget on us saying that he eats 300 grams of protein a day. And he kind of broke it down to us how. And he uses protein powder and collagen. So, and Kyle was wondering, why do you use collagen?
We all were wondering.
We were all wondering because collagen was something that caught us off guard a little.
Well, come on now, look at me. Seriously.
Uh-huh.
You know, I've been taking collagen for about probably 8 years.
Okay.
I've been taking it, and as every year went along, I induced more to me. And I started to realize that, you know, even at 65, I was told that, you know, my cartilage was wearing out in my shoulder joints. That's why I was having so much pain. So they told me, you know, you can't be powerlifting, and, you know, and I was like, wow, you know, that's something hard to do. So I started taking collagen, and I started to notice that, you know, my mobility was much better, that I wasn't getting a lot of little aches and pains in my shoulder where my joints were. And along with my building of the muscles, I was having a lot of support. So, you know, even at 67 now, I still bench press, I still squat, I still deadlift, and I do competitive numbers.
Okay.
And a lot of it is longevity, that I've been doing this for so long. But I do think that, you know, collagen's helped me in a lot of other ways. It's helps me with my skin. It's helped me with my nails, and believe it or not, it does help me with my hair. But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's plenty underneath the hat.
Yeah.
I do shave it, so, you know.
So
but
did you just take that by yourself, or did a doctor tell you to take?
I put it in my coffee.
But, like, how did you start taking
how did you
it?
start,
Like, what
like,
motivated you to start taking
Yeah.
collagen
Well, I
ago?
read this article one day, you know, a while back, and I was reading about this powder that is protein, but what it does is it helps a lot of areas physically in you. As well, they say it does mentally do work for you. And I was, what is this, you know? And I bought a container of it, and I just started taking a scoop in my coffee, and then I take a scoop in my smoothie, and it just I just started feeling much better, and my mobility was really good, was getting better, and even when I went to my orthopedics, he told me, he goes, look, he goes, you're gonna need shoulder replacement. He goes, if you can't do these exercises that I'm about ready to do a ROM on you, if you can't do these, then you're gonna need
Shoulder replacement?
So, yeah, you're going to need shoulder replacements. And he put me through them, and I passed it with flying colors. And he actually looked at me. He goes, you have very little cartilage, but he goes, your motion is extremely good. And he also said that the muscle mass I had on me is helping. But I believe a lot of it has to do with collagen. I do believe that, because I've been taking it for a while.
You said 8 years?
No.
Kyle, have you ever taken collagen?
Never.
No.
Yeah, they'll be taking it after this show.
Probably. Most likely, yeah. So today's topic is really about supplements, and that's why we wanted to get into that. I only just take really whey protein and creatine. Those are my top two.
See, I mainly just take isopure protein, isolate and whatnot. So I every once in a while I'll take a multivitamin. I know I should be taking them, but
Oh, and vitamins, yeah.
Yeah. But protein powder is the one that I normally go with. But like I said, you came in with the collagen. Let me ask you this: do you combine both of them in the same cup?
Protein, I do. Do
you put protein and collagen together?
Because when I do my smoothie, and this is after I've taken probably about 120 grams of protein from my collagen in my coffee, I make a big shake smoothie in a blender size,
68 ounces, probably. Yeah.
60 ounces. And I put like fruit. I put bananas, strawberries, pineapples. I put antioxidants, blackberries, berries. And then I put 2 scoops of collagen, and I put 3 scoops of protein in there. So see, I've reached that number halfway through the day.
So we could probably say then, because when we shared what you said about you eating 300 grams, a lot of people were like, what? And I just wanted to know, how did you do it? It sounds like you're getting at least 200 at least from just
Supplements.
Yeah, just the collagen and the protein.
And do you think that has helped you to kind of get to that target goal of 300, taking the supplements?
Oh yeah, because that's why I'm lifting, 4 to 5 days a week.
See, let me ask you this:
2 to 3 hours.
If you didn't have supplements, do you think you'd be able to eat 300 grams of protein without supplements?
I don't know. Probably not.
Okay.
I'm almost positive, because the protein builds your muscles, and the collagen is the protein that you're putting in. So you're getting I'm getting a lot of protein.
Yeah.
And
which is good.
The kidney things, to me, is a myth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, to me it is.
What are you talking about, the kidney thing?
They said too much protein will affect your kidneys. And stuff. That's what they say, but I don't think it's true. But I don't take creatine. That I do not do, because my doctor told me, when I was taking it, I got a phone call saying, "Wait, you're way over your creatine level."
Yeah, because the body naturally produces
and
creatine.
Too much creatine is gonna damage you, and at your age, that's a high risk you're taking. So I just cut creatine out. Period.
How much were you taking?
Ooh, probably 2 scoops to my protein and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
I was taking a lot of creatine.
You're only supposed to do one
But then
a day,
at that time, I was in that powerlifting competing stage.
Okay.
All right, so
you did it more to kind of help you enhance your strength,
and I was lifting a lot, and I was 63, 64. 62.
Okay.
And so I was like really putting that creatine in me, and now, doctor, they can't use that no more. You're way over your creatine level.
Okay. Creatine's a good one. I used it 10 years ago. I liked what it did to me, but it's one of those where I did feel that it was, I think it's gotten better since 10 years ago.
Because I was using, maybe you can help me with this case.
Yeah,
you got these big words.
Monohydrate?
Is that what it is with creatine? Mono something.
Monohydrate creatine.
Probably monohydrate.
Yeah.
Monohydrate
That's
creatine.
what I was using that.
Yeah.
That's like pure creatine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just basic creatine, yeah.
Well, how would you use creatine, Kyle?
I just mix it with my protein.
You mix it with your
5
protein,
grams a day. Yeah. Just 1 scoop.
Yeah, we just had Jack on here on an earlier episode too, and shout out to Jack Masters.
I think he's like a 15-year user.
Yeah. And he said there's a lot of studies that show that it's great for the brain function as well too.
Yes, cognitive.
So, which I thought was very interesting when he said that athletes that get concussion, they kind of up their dosage on creatine to help out.
Yeah,
so that was a nice little eye opening thing that he shared with us. So thank you, Jack. Once again, we're gonna have you back for sure. But like going back with the supplement use. Now, with you getting to 300 grams, with supplement use, you did answer the question that you would struggle getting there if you just ate food. And I'm glad you said that, because I feel like when we work with several clienteles, we all agree they need to up their protein. Mm-hmm. And an easier way for them to up their protein is supplements. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is like I work with a lot of females. They all struggle to hit that 100-gram mark in general. When we sit down. And I always advise a scoop. Put a scoop of protein in milk or in something, because that should add at least between
20 to
25 grams.
I advise 2.
You advise 2?
Yeah.
Really? Do you get any pushback when you advise that or anything like that? Like, because I always feel like...
Not really, because I try to explain it in a way that makes them understand why they're doing it. If they know the value of building muscle and how much protein affects that process, and they know that they're not getting enough protein, I just tell them, like, look, getting 2 scoops is going to give you way more protein than what you used to have before, and it's just going to help you.
Nice.
Not much pushback, for sure.
Really? So, and all like in the same serving as well, too?
No, so that one I tell them it's either if you want to do 2 at the same time, which is what I do, or if it makes it easier for you to just split it and maybe do 1 in the morning, 1 at night, whatever works for you, as long as you just get it in, it's good.
Yeah, because that's already, let's just say 50 grams right there.
Exactly.
And so, and then now, Mike, let me ask you this. What is the definition of a supplement?
Protein powder.
Okay.
I don't use,
Love his one-word answers.
One-word answers.
Collagen, protein powder. But I don't use some of these other supplements. I did use Lean Out one time when I had to prove a point.
Wait.
What is this?
What's Lean Out and what's Lean Out?
Well, I had to cut weight, and cutting weight is cutting weight is hard.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and it's something that just doesn't happen like real quick. It's a thing that goes through time. You start cutting weight, and if you're a bodybuilder, if you're a powerlifter, you got to get in that weight to a certain weight limit. Mm-hmm. You kind of know how to do it, and I wasn't competing, but I was challenged to get to a certain weight and to have abs. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this process is a little bit slow what I'm doing. I'm dieting. I'm getting weaker, but I'm losing, but I'm not losing fast enough. So, I went out, got me some Lean Out.
And what's Lean Out? It sounds like it's a fat burner.
It's a fat burner.
Oh.
It's a fat burner.
How does that work? How many do you take, and what's like the process on that?
What did you feel with it?
They say two a day.
2 pills a day?
But I was doing 4.
Jeez.
I took 2 in the morning.
Would you recommend that to other people?
I took 2 in the morning and two at night. Because I'm thinking, well, I'll burn through the day. I said, when I'm asleep, take 2 more. I'll burn through the night. No, I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
So
but I do things differently.
So you're the coach that do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I tell my lifter all the time.
That's fair.
She goes, well, how much protein do you take? It doesn't matter. You just take, what I tell you to take.
I feel like maybe for someone who has like something that's coming up, like a deadline or something that's real quick, maybe you can suggest that to them. Yeah, like you said, you did it for a challenge. But for someone who's just trying to change their lifestyle and stuff, for longevity, probably not.
Follow the directions on the back of the bottle. That's what you do.
So you had a deadline to show off some abs.
Yes, I did.
And
I won.
Yeah, you won. Did you win?
You got that before you get to that. Yeah, I won.
Okay. Yeah, because I think your opponent didn't use any enhancements or any of that.
When you're
and your opponent came back from vacation and had a great time.
When you're 66 and you're going against a 30-year-old.
Also, age matters.
You're like, what do you do?
Ooh.
Oh,
age does matter.
Oh,
age does matter.
I'm gonna try to
insert that clip where you said age doesn't matter.
Like, hey. Don't talk about age with me because it's always going to be no.
It's a sensitive topic.
Yes.
Training is a lot harder now for me than what it was 30, 40 years ago, man. But like I said, if you're committed and you're dedicated, you're gonna be out in the gym and you're gonna work. But it is harder for me now.
Yeah.
But I'm committed. I love training. I love.
So supplements are beneficial.
Well, they are, but I think it's also like how both of you guys were leaning in, using it the right way, right? If you have a deadline, if you're trying to get to something, it's one of those where, like for you, for example, you're not taking that fat burner right now, right?
No.
Yeah,
like all year long. Like, don't abuse it.
Exactly. That's what I was leaning with.
You guys, I got like a half a bottle left.
So
I'm pretty lean already. I'm good.
We'll talk after this. I lost that bet. I was all like, let me see what this really does. I was all like, no, but that's the important things because one thing that I always used to communicate supplements with a lot of clientele would be is not every diet is perfect, right? So I would always use the analogy of your destination is this island, our journey is this boat. The boat is on a river. We're trying to get to this island. The island's your goal. But if your boat has holes in it, is it going to be able to sail to that island? No, right? Because if your boat has holes, it's going to sink, right? So what supplements do is, in order for us to, yeah, exactly, you cover up those holes. You cover up those holes to help you get to your destination.
Well, okay.
And that's the analogy that I always used to use.
Do
What's
you
up?
take supplements?
Yeah.
What do you take?
Protein and creatine.
That's
Whey
it.
protein, not collagen. Yeah.
That's it.
Vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, but mainly just those two.
Okay. That's what I did. Just protein and creatine. That's all I did.
This is your future.
Collagen.
Yeah, that is my
Collagen.
future.
I take collagen. I take collagen, which you're going to start doing too. Right?
Probably. No, absolutely.
Have you ever taken a fat burner?
I have not.
Really? Yeah, because you're
That's
more
because I was always
You're
like...
you're like a lean guy.
Exactly.
You're not.
I'm just
I was
naturally
going to
lean.
say
Well,
you probably were skinny at one time in your life.
Yeah, remember
Super,
he used to
yeah.
weigh like 140. Now you're like what, like 160,
170.
170. So, do you feel that supplements have helped you got there?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So, someone that's trying to gain weight and put on mass, like what would be a recommendation on how to apply it to get there?
Add 2 more scoops in your diet of protein if you can.
So you add a lot more than the recommended. I like that idea. I think I might steal that one from you.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the fat burner because I did experience with fat burners like 10 years. Like 10 years ago, I was trying out all of them just to give them an idea. Did you ever were you able to sleep at night when you took a fat burner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get old, you can sleep.
How does that make you feel? Like, what are the effects of the fat burner?
no,
Again, I've never taken this.
I've always worked out, always. So it's not like it made me work out more. I just started cutting weight. You saw me
Yeah.
at the gym. I went from 240 to 192.
240 to 192.
Yeah.
So,
but then
So how does it
the same thing?
burn fat exactly?
I was very weak.
From when the one that I used to take a thermogenic one. It has caffeine. So the one thing that caffeine does, it does curb your appetite.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're drinking
Suppressant.
coffee, it gives you more energy. So that's one thing that fat burners will have. Fat burners will have caffeine to pretty much suppress the hunger and give you that energy to keep going. Also, it did increase body temperature. The one that I took, I was sweating. I naturally sweat a lot as it is.
So it makes you just burn more calories at rest.
Yeah, and
It is a semi-laxative too in fat burner.
Yeah, so is coffee.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Caffeine and a lean out fat burner, it kind of goes hand in hand. So.
But that's why there was a lot of warning hazards of what was the fat burner that was very popular that everyone used to take, and it got dangerous because people were overdoing it, and it was causing them a lot of heart problems because it definitely increased your heart rate. There used to be a popular one, and it's gonna kill me because it was like a very popular one, like in the early 2000s, maybe if you could think of it, Speed X or something like that.
Cocaine.
No, no, that's still around. But it's one of those where you got to make sure that you got to be careful with fat burners, and that's why when you said you were taking double the dosage, I was talking about like, well, how did you sleep? Because when I was taking it, I couldn't take it past 5 p.m. and I would do one in the morning after a meal, and then one after lunch. And I tried it one time after dinner, and I literally had I couldn't go to sleep. It was something that.
Maybe like you said, that's what he's saying. Once you're older, it's easier to just knock out.
You got to remember something. I go to bed like at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I wake up at like 4.
Okay.
Every day. That's always been something I've always done because of my work schedule. When I was, back when I was in construction, I would have to wake up early. So I wake up early every morning, and I go to bed early. And then my wife and I sit down and have a cup of coffee before I go to bed.
That's wild, man. I've noticed that my mom's the same way. My mom can have a cup of coffee at night, and
That's old people stuff.
But actually, that's kind of me too, though. Because I used to work out at night, like late at night, like 9, 10 p.m. When I was younger. And I would take pre-workout at that time.
what time would you go to sleep? Don't say you go to sleep at like midnight.
Yeah, like as soon as I get home,
Yeah?
I can knock out. Yeah, like caffeine never affected me to where I can't like knock out.
Doesn't affect everybody.
keep
Well,
me up.
yeah, that's true.
Exactly, that's true.
Damn, man, you guys are crazy. I love coffee. I like me. So let me ask you guys this: would you guys consider an energy drink as a form of supplement?
Yeah, for sure.
Would you? Because I mean, pre-workout's a form of supplement.
Pre-workout, yeah.
But would you consider an energy drink as a form
No,
of supplement?
energy
Same
drink.
thing.
I don't drink energy drinks.
No.
I don't.
Do you do a
But it is a
pre-workout?
supplement.
No, I don't do pre-workout either.
No. Okay. Why wouldn't you do a pre-workout?
It has what do you call that stuff that makes you tingle and
Beta-alanine, probably.
what?
Beta-alanine.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I just don't like to. It does not make me. It does not make me energized pre-workout because people tell me, why I use pre-workout. I have to use pre-workout, to amp me up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a supplement.
And that it doesn't do that for me. It doesn't amp me up. I've tried pre-workout, but
You don't feel the tingleness?
nah, I
Maybe
mean,
because you have a high caffeine tolerance
I
already.
feel the tingleness, but it doesn't like give me energy.
Yeah.
So I don't use pre-workout
Yeah.
at all.
I use it sometimes.
Dude.
Not all the
I
time.
look at
Yeah.
people
Just
sit
on the
there and they
days where I
get
feel like-
pre-workout and they scoop it up and they go like that. I'm like,
That's me.
Oh man,
I dry
Really?
scoop.
You dry scoop?
wow, man. I'm like crazy.
I tried that once. That thing came out of my nose because it was like I coughed. And I was like,
I don't know.
I was like, you young
I'm
kids
just super
are
used to
you,
it,
You,
yeah.
man, you guys do crazy.
That is, man. That's the woo.
So you would because I'm on the fence. I take an energy drink. I take a C4 energy drink, which is specifically saying more of a pre-workout because it's already like pre-made.
Yeah.
But I the same thing. I always make sure I don't take it no later than 3 p.m. It's just something where I always have a coffee in the morning and then an energy
Well,
drink around like 3 p.m.
I just, being my age, it just hit me.
Okay, what just hit you?
Niacin. I would take couple of tablets of niacin, and
What is that?
Man, it just would make me tingle everywhere. I mean, just
What's niacin?
Is that a pre-workout?
no, it's like it's if you look at a lot of the energy drinks, they have it in there almost. Yeah,
You would just take.
He's gonna look it
niacin.
up.
Yeah, he gonna look it up. But you would just take niacin.
Uh-huh.
What was the purpose for you taking that?
It would like wake you up.
So it was
It gets you going.
So it was a
and
pre-workout.
I hated it.
Oh.
Niacin is a B vitamin that's made and used by your body to turn food into energy.
Really? And you would
Vitamin B3 is niacin.
you would just take that.
I did, but I was
How old were you when you did that?
younger. But it didn't. It was too much. I'd be like tingling all through the workout, and it was
Would you be able to find that? Like if you were to just search like a supplement, like is there
Yeah, vitamin B3.
vitamin B3? Really? Interesting. I've never even heard of
It's
that.
an old one.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I know vitamin B, but
It's an old one.
Oh, okay.
That's something that we used to do. I think before pre-workout came out.
So
how many pills would you do? Would you do the recommended amount or
Not two.
go crazy again?
I'd be like 2.
Okay.
before the workout,
Yeah.
and then after the workout.
No, I just do it before.
Gotcha.
But it's a feeling that it's a feeling that you're gonna feel. You're not gonna feel from pre-workout. I can guarantee you.
Okay.
So we can all agree that we would recommend protein to people.
Oh,
So-
definitely.
Yeah.
Protein.
What about pre-workout?
And I'll
Would
say
we
this. I'll
recommend
say
it?
this much: the older you are, I would recommend it more.
Yeah.
Because it does build muscle. And,
Yeah. For sure.
It helps. So, you hear a lot of things about protein, but the truth of it is, it does you a lot of good.
Yeah.
Okay, but so what if a client came up to you and asked you about protein? What would you tell them about it?
What would I tell them about protein?
Yeah.
Take
Let's say
it.
Okay.
Send it. Take it.
Yeah.
Let's find a way on how to incorporate it into your meals for sure. And then you said the other one was pre-workout. Would I recommend a client to take pre-workout?
Wait, what were you just talking about right now? Yeah, I was talking about pre-workout.
Yeah. You said protein right now.
Oh, yeah. Protein. Okay, incorporate with your meals. Yes.
And then
but
now pre-workout. So
Yeah.
pre-workout, that's a tricky one.
That's a different one.
I
Careful.
don't think I've ever recommended. I don't think I've never recommended pre-workout to a client because personally, I think I would be afraid of what it might do to them if they're not caffeine tolerable. Even if they say they are, I still would be like, you know what, this is what I take. And this is what it does to me.
Yeah.
But like I said, I know how my caffeine tolerance is, and the last thing I would want is for, I've had clients even come in with Celsius energy drinks, and then I'll see them like a couple days later for the next session. They'll be like, man, I couldn't sleep after. So I was like, all right, so maybe your body isn't ready for something like that. So I've never recommended protein. I mean pre-workout, yeah. But I will say it helps on the days that you need it. The main clients that I see that get the best success are my evening clients that come in after work.
Yeah.
I tell them, you need it.
You need it?
That's it. You need it.
And I have nothing against it. When they ask me, I'm just like, if
it helps you, go for it. But I'm not gonna. Like I said, normally, like if you were to tell me which protein to take, I'll give you 2 proteins and exactly which ones. Screenshot it here to look for this pre-workout. I've never done that with a client because, like I said, it's like this is the one that I take. Maybe if you want to like see how you are with coffee first, maybe start off with that and see. Because perfect example.
Pre-workouts are kind of built different than coffee because they make it to where, there's other added stuff for like cognitive and all this stuff for better pumps. So,
yeah, because like I said, even my fiance, like she gets a headache when she does any form of a, caffeine pre-workout type stuff too. So if you got a headache, are you going to really work out the best? Probably not.
Yeah.
Well, I think
so just see if it works for you.
I think if you're really smart, you don't need pre-workout.
So yeah, well that's why, like I said, when we were doing the questions episode, I think finding the time when someone maybe has the best energy to work out, always a circle around that too. And so, but there's one question I think we were talking about earlier, and this one might be a little bit touchy, but let's talk about PEDs. PEDs.
I know nothing about it.
I know, but
me neither.
Yeah, no, but you did say steroids,
PEDs, performance enhancing drugs.
Performance enhancing drugs.
Steroid.
We then steroids. We don't push it.
Just a steroid then.
Steroid.
Yeah, steroids.
Oh, no, steroids. But
people
none of us
don't know.
Okay, steroids.
Okay,
Mike, before we got on here, you did say there is a time to take steroids, and you asked both me and Kyle, and we didn't. We were like, "There's never really a legal time to take steroids." Is that was a question? When is the legal time to take a steroid?
When the doctor recommends it to you if you have cancer, because steroids they enhance your strength. And a lot of cancer patients, they're very weak, and so they would give them steroids to build themselves up to be stronger. So it is important. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say steroids are no, because I used them, through my bodybuilding time, and it wasn't like I went to the drugstore and says, "Oh man, I'm going to take this off the shelf and buy it." I had to buy it illegally. So it's not illegal.
That was because it was part of that culture.
Yeah, but that was like back in the 70s.
But you can get caught by the police, and you wouldn't get hit with a drug offense.
Yeah. Because I think it's a lot. It's now what is it a federal? It's a federal crime now, right?
It's a crime now
yeah,
to get caught.
And that's why I think doctor recommended is always going to be the best way. Because I think we were also talking about, bone breaks.
Right.
I watch a lot of MMA and I've seen a lot of fighters. Conor McGregor is probably the most famous one right now. His last fight, he did break his foot, and pretty much for that recovery time, he had to be. He said it. He said in an interview that, I'm taking steroids right now to help that recover. And then once he's able to compete, he's got to go through a pool where he's got to be completely off it and it's got to be flushed out of him. So I do believe, like I said, doctor's orders is good. I didn't realize for like cancer patients as well that was something that it was there. And I think that's something that once we find out the benefits of a supplement, going back to what Kyle said, we got to learn how to use it the proper way and not abuse it.
Right, because I've heard people say, I'm going to get on steroids. And I kind of look at it and I say, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go on a cycle? Are you going to stack it? You're going to do this? I'm just going to take it. I want to take tests,
It's a lot of kids nowadays. They just try to find that shortcut,
They just don't know
the proper foundation.
The effects of it and what it could do to you. And you just kind of like just shake your head, but
Yeah, there's a term nowadays called SARM goblins, which is like, so SARMs is the newer type of steroids, and a lot of kids are taking it at a very young age.
Well, because you were telling me one time about something called like stems and stuff. Is that what it's called?
SARM, yeah.
And I'd never heard of that.
It's selective androgen receptor modulators, which
Yeah.
is supposed to be the steroids without the negative side effects, but it still has negative side effects.
I've never heard of that. You know, if you
definitely
go
a
back
newer
to my
type of
day,
steroid.
you're talking about a decadiol.
Your day was like needles, right?
V test and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was stuff that was just out on the market, very common. You know, now things got really, whew.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like I said, no matter what it is like I said, people are going to always try to find those shortcuts. So, and that's why supplements, shortcuts could be beneficial. Sometimes shortcuts could be detrimental. It's one of those things.
Well, the one thing I'll say, supplements aren't steroids. Okay.
No, well,
I don't. Supplements are steroids. That's completely different.
so you don't think?
No, it's not a supplement.
Ooh,
No, because-
Kyle made a face.
You know,
Steroid is a supplement, I think.
Yeah, no, we have a strong disagreement there, bro.
What is the definition of a supplement?
A supplement.
It's something that aids you with something, or
is-
something that helps you with something.
It does. But
So what does steroid do? It helps you with-
Does a steroid actually help you? If you're using it in bodybuilding, if you're using it in powerlifting and stuff like that, of course.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But it's not a legal substance. It's not. It's not.
So you're saying supplements are only legal substances?
To me, a substance that a normal person would take is a legal substance. Supplement.
So when the supplement is under the legal category, or when the item is under a legal category,
It's
then
legal.
it's a supplement.
Yeah.
When it's under
He
an
just has his
illegal,
own definition
yeah.
of
So that's the
supplement.
definition of Mike. So it's like
an
as long as it's
enhancement.
legal, it's if the enhancement is legal, it's a supplement. If the enhancement is illegal, it's not a supplement. So that's how Mike sees it as.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
I'm
He has
very
his
much
own-
against steroids.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
150%.
There you go. See, look at that. We come to the understanding.
Sounds good.
So thanks, you guys. So look,
Yeah.
we talked. We went a little bit all over with the supplements,
We
but
kinda did, yeah.
And this was good because this is just more on our personal experiences with ourselves, with clientele. You know, our history with supplements, and we do believe that supplements is like Mike says. I like it. It's an enhancement, and you guys want to make sure you're doing it the right way. When you're doing it the right way, if you're new to the game, don't be like how Coach Kyle says. Don't be the SARM's goblin. Do your research. Work with someone that knows their stuff. That way, you guys can use supplements properly and not overdo it and not abuse it.
Exactly.
So, any final words on your guys' end?
No final words here. I said all my words.
There you go.
My final words is take more protein.
Take more protein.
2 scoops.
And Mike, I'm gonna have to see this lean out fat burner that you beat it and cheated me out of $100 with. All right. Thank you guys
Thanks
for
for
tuning
tuning
in.
in.
Take it easy.
We'll see you on the
Out.
next episode.